Okay, so who does this? Who takes care of this for you? Who can help with, a SWOT analysis or our lovely sort of stylised Rumsfeld analysis? Well, it's not just one person, it's a number of people. And you probably need to talk to a number of people. Do you have an accountant? Talk to your accountant. Choke on that word, I'm not quite sure why. Because I am one. But talk to your accountant. Do you have a lawyer? Do you have a friend who's a lawyer? Do you have somebody whose advice you trust? I mean, there's plenty of people out there prepared to offer you free advice. And free advice is often worth what you pay for it. So be careful. But again, people who know more than you about the things that you think you might need to know. So all of the myriad things that happen in business, and we can sit down and write out a business plan of all the things that you need to consider. But really it's about finding someone that you can work with, someone that you trust, someone who can talk to you about what you're doing. So what's your particular business? Or what, it doesn't have to be yours, I mean, make up one, but...
Yeah, I run a virtual yoga centre.
A virtual yoga centre, right. So do it at home yoga sort of...
Yeah, it's a live video conference around the world.
So you need to talk to people about ICT stuff. You need to talk to people about how do I communicate. You need to talk to people about branding and marketing and awareness. How do I get what I do out there so that I've got a bunch of punters prepared to sign up and pay what I need them to pay to fund what I'm doing and to deliver what you want them to do. You need some sort of measurement of what their satisfaction is with your product so that you can tailor it, tweak it, make it better, all those sorts of things. So it's about talking to people who may not play in your space. They may not be a yoga instructor, they may not be a webcaster, but talking to the people who have associations with those sorts of things, they can help with this. They won't give you the whole picture because as Donald Trump said, no one's got the whole picture, but it's talking to people and trying to get as much information together as you can and then filtering it. So what's important for me? What's core and what's non-core?
So there's no one person or one professional you'd suggest, it's a matter of cobbling together all the different professional contacts?
There will be specialists. There will be people, like lawyers, there are property lawyers, there are family lawyers, there are your general practice, do everything lawyers. There are general practice accountants. There are accountants like me who tend to work in the world of where things don't quite go so well. But often we have skills that people tend not to recognise. We know why a lot of businesses go bad. So if you had access to somebody who knew why a business went bad, wouldn't they be a good person to talk to about how it might go right and what to look out for? And that's the flip side of what we do. I very much like to get in at the front end of things, at the outset, at the genesis, so I can say, right, you need to think about this, 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 and this. Have you thought about those things? No. Or yes, I have, and these are the plans that are in place. So it's a number of people about different things. And as part of this process, with this particular presentation, I guess the overall aim is to provide as many people as want it with access to people who can possibly provide you with that sort of information.
Sometimes it's the formal people like your accountant, your lawyer, your marketing person that you surround yourselves with, but other times it's actually going to an event where you'll end up sitting next to somebody in a completely different industry who will just have that little piece of knowledge because they've done it themselves. That will be exactly what you're looking for at that point of time. So exactly as Tony said, it's surrounding yourself by a real mix of people and being open to hearing ideas, even if it's not exactly in your field.
There's another one. I've got all those little sort of cliches and sayings. So. That's my attempt at humour.
It's the highlight of it.
Oh, it's not a highlight. Believe me. And this is exactly what Candice was just saying. If you're out there in the big wide world, search for the hidden gem. Because sometimes somebody will say just one thing to you, and you go, oh, that was so obvious. Why didn't I know that? And then I wouldn't have done all this, but that one thing might trigger you to think about other things, and it could be the one spark that you've been looking for. And it's about searching for it. Don't wait for it to happen. Surround yourself with people who've got ideas and think about things the way you do, and it'll come.
Yeah, I in the past I've been very sceptical about some of these networking events, but just recently they've started paying off, and it is a two-way thing, exactly as you said. Someone said, well, why don't you? And I'm like, oh, so obvious. And then a few minutes later I said to her, well, why don't you? And she said, oh, that's so obvious. So it does work both ways.
And you know what? That's free.
Mm.
It might cost you something to go to a networking event or whatever, but it's free. And you get to interact with people, and having a wide network of people that you know what they do is never a disadvantage. Because even if you don't need them, somebody that you know might. And then you can say to them, I don't need that, but I know someone who does, and you put them in contact, and it evolves.
It can be a good model to surround yourself with interesting people doing interesting things. And I think that's where you learn a lot.
Absolutely. Now, let's go back to David and Angela just for a moment, because they could end up being one or two of these people. Now, I reckon they're both on screen, and the task is to pick which one's which. So, have we got hands up for, is David the reassurer or the ostrich? Hands up for a reassurer. No? Is David the ostrich? And is Angela the reassurer or the ostrich? She's the reassurer? Okay. I might have put them the other way around. I reckon David's trying to keep everything up. He's juggling all the balls, they're all in there. No, it's going to be fine. I can see this from where it's going. Maybe I'm just bringing a little bit of professional insight to it and assuming some things, which I just told everybody not to do. But I think David's probably that sort of guy. I think Angela's the one who's got the idea. She's hell-bent on making it work. And said, no, nothing wrong with this. We're doing this. Off we go. And nobody can tell me anything about it because I'm steadfastly in my tracks and I'm going to make this happen. These are the people that, when we were talking about pride before and getting help, these are the people that you get to the trough. They're the horses. You can take them as far as the drinking trough, but they're not going to drink because they know more about their own situation than you can tell them. And it happens, and it's so sad because we're at the point where you can help them. You can say, but if only you just did that. And it doesn't happen. Because why? Something triggers one of these reactions. If I ignore it, it will go away. I don't know how many times that's worked in the history of the world. It probably hasn't. You can think of a number of analogies of where that didn't work. I suspect in the medical industry it's not a particularly good treatment regime. If you ignore it, it will just go away. I'm sure in international affairs and political conflicts and war, that's probably not a good strategy either. If you ignore them, they'll just go away. And trying to keep all the balls in the air, well, how tired is this guy going to be? Think about a time in your life when you've had to juggle a number of things concurrently. How tired does it make you? Just thinking about it, just trying to keep it all up. So it's no wonder that people are now trying to simplify everything. Keep it simple. Okay, so the other professionals that we have assisting us with this series of presentations will talk to you about the nuances from their own perspective, how the accountants see this particular situation, the financial professionals, how people who have access to non-traditional capital, so venture capitalists and seed funding, how this business might get access to non-traditional capital to fund what it's doing. They'll talk to you about how they see this scenario working out. We'll talk to some people about how the human relations within all of this work between the company, its owners, its employees, and where it wants to go and what the considerations need to be there. And then we'll also talk to the legal beagles about how the scenario plays out from a legal perspective and what are the things that need to adopt the forefront of the minds of both David and Angela and how that interacts with their company. Because don't forget, as directors of a company, you owe duties to that company. It's not just your thing to play with how you like. The Corporations Act has some teeth and they get sharper by the week. And one of the things that we do is look at how those relationships play out between those charged with managing and owning a company versus the future of the company works. And I know that one of the things that our accounting friends will talk about is how, very briefly, how insolvent trading works. So if you get to a point where you can't pay your debts as and when they fall due, which is the technical description of insolvency, what you need to do in the context of the company to make sure that you're not falling foul of the Corporations Act. And that's a legal question and that's an operational question. But let's get back to what we've spoken about today. Be aware of warning signs. If something doesn't feel right, 9 times out of 10, it's probably not. So what do you do then? Get in early, act early. Don't be the ostrich, don't be the reassurer, act early. Get in there and ask some questions, seek some assistance. Even though you may not know who to turn to, your accountant, your lawyer, your advisor, your friend, whoever, talk to someone about the problem. Because you might find that by talking it through, the solution appears to you. Or they might have someone that you can go and talk to thereafter who might have the solution for you. And then once you've done all of that, do something. Don't just sit there, do something. My mother always used to say to me, don't just sit there, do something. So take your own advice. If you want your business to succeed and you think that it's a worthwhile enterprise, you've invested time, you've invested money, and it's at the point where it could grow or die, take action. Just remember, in life and in business, there are 2 cardinal sins. The first is to act precipitously without thought, and the second is not to act at all. So, on that note, we'd like to thank you for your participation in today's session. We hope that you found it informative and enjoyable. We look forward to dealing with you again in future. We hope you participate in the other online sessions that we have coming up throughout this series. I'd like to thank the ACT Government and Lighthouse for their impetus in getting this off the ground. It's not often that people want to come and listen to what an insolvency practitioner has to say about the world as they see it, but we hope that from today's session and the future sessions, you'll be able to take at least one thing away with you that will help you in your business to generate the future prosperity and wealth and success that you were looking for. Thank you very much for your time today.